my biggest takeaway was truly gaining the confidence to talk about the nervous system. I knew nervous system. I touched on nervous system before, like at the start of practice, but really as soon as I dove into what the nervous system was and then gaining the confidence to communicate that.
All right, chiropractors and chiropractic students, welcome to the Family Practice Podcast. You know, the one you've been waiting way too long for, because this podcast will actually stay focused on chiropractic. Not only what it takes to get world-class clinical results for kids and families in your community, but also what it takes to build a legendary, incredible family practice that takes care of your family way beyond your dreams. I'm Dr. Tony Ebel, and I'll be joined by Dr. Matt Hill, Dr. Alli Wright, Jackie Jacobowitz, and incredible guests, chiros, associates, CAs, all these folks making massive impact around the world. We're going to cover everything: pediatric, perinatal, family practice. This is the podcast you've been waiting for, because moms and dads and families have always needed us. Now they're finally ready for us. I hope you're ready for the Family Practice Podcast. Let's go. I know Scherina very, very well. I've been able to be a colleague and a good friend and a mentor, and we're both diehard Vikings fans, Skol, and all the things. I've known Scherina from the very beginning, for the most part, of her getting IWC, which is Integrate Wellness Center, her incredible nervous system-focused family practice in Orlando, Florida. I've known this courageous, kick-ass woman for a long period of time. I got her bio on my screen in front of me here. I should be appropriate and talk about her bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies with a focus on microbiology and molecular biology. Like, we are literally, Scherina and I are besties. Then got a bachelor's degree from University of Central Florida, went on to Palmer College of Chiropractic, graduated in 2016. And from there, she has really just transformed her practice to where she can speak to her practice members struggling with physical, emotional, and levels of life stress and tap into it at another level. Her experience as a somato-respiratory integration practitioner really kicked off the passion and then went right there to become certified into network spinal analysis while in college, and continues to work on mastering that craft and that technique. She grew up with a passion for kids. She has served in many different platforms in that world, from kindergarten teacher to soccer coach to, as she says, seriously, the cutest thing ever. And, you know, right after she got into practice, the real catalyst, the real needle mover and mission maker for her, Dr. Scherina, dig in, jump in, let's go. Okay, all right, let's just roll into this. Let's go. All right. Go. What up?
Hey, what's up?
Did you just Canadian it? Okay, all right. Welcome to the podcast, Canadians and everybody else. Okay.
I am Minnesotan, so.
You did grow up just one block north.
I did.
1 block short of north of the wall. All right, so we have one of my favorite people in the world, Dr. Scherina, here on the, really, this is going to be pre-recorded before we've even launched this sucker, the Family Practice Podcast. So thank you for hanging with us. Let's start with this. We're going to go back in time. It's standard podcast operation here, but in a really meaningful way. Where in your chiropractic journey did you really figure out that chiropractic is solely about the nervous system, changing people's nervous systems, and then fall in love with and we'll get into more of the details later, but into the clinical application and the model you now practice? Where did the nervous system obsession first strike you?
As soon as I started seeing kids.
Okay.
It was as soon as I didn't go into practice knowing that it was going to be full-on peds. That developed. Yeah. Truth be told, because I got pregnant. Yeah. I had my baby. So that changed my world. Yeah. But as soon as I started seeing these kids, you know, they're not coming in complaining about things. They're not coming in thinking anything's wrong. Their parents are bringing them in. So just seeing the shifts there and really, you know, like being forced to dive truly into the nervous system. It wasn't anything structural. Like, analyze their posture. No, that's not what we're doing here. So it wasn't until really seeing those kids and seeing when you do implement true core nervous system care of what those shifts and changes
Oh, I love it. So you said the word, all right, homie. Everybody listening, you are going to find that this is kind of like one conversation. I feel like out of all the chiropractors that have come into our incredible network with PX and all this, like from the beginning, remember the weird room? I don't know. It was like a convention center that we first met in Minnesota, right? And that's what the seminar was. I never forget meeting you and your baby at the time, who's not a baby anymore. And I guess what stood out, I was like, the question she's asking, holy crap, is she moving in the right direction? And then I could just tell that in a lot of ways we're very much very similar into what God has called us to, yes, but what we really love. And where I'm going with that is, you said the word forced, and you said it very happily. You were like, that was a memory, that was a very exciting, fun memory when these kids showed up and you were forced to level up. And that's what happens for a lot of chiropractors. In fact, that's our intent. The other podcast, the Experience Miracles podcast, these moms find it, then they find any chiropractor anywhere, and they're like, do you do this? Do you see kids in a nervous system focused model? So let's stay in that point. So the kids were coming in, you knew you needed a new way of really bringing nervous system chiropractic to them. What was the first step you took to get leveled up? Do you remember kind of the sequence, if you will, of where you started to go after things?
Like started training?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I
mean, it was with you.
It was back. Okay.
For sure.
And how did you find us? I don't even remember, honestly.
So within probably my second year of practice was not where I expected it to be. Focus was all over the place. Okay. I wasn't honed in on peds at all. I wasn't honed in on family practice. Of course, had a baby.
Were you network and nervous system?
I was still network. Cool. I was still network, but in the network world, we're not completely trained with the nervous system. I think as with any chiropractic technique, it doesn't go deep into the nervous system, And when I say nervous system, I'm going to just say it straight out. Nervous system is much deeper than fight, flight, freeze, or fawn.
Truth.
Like it's deeper than that. Anyone can understand that. That's core, like basic education right there, but it goes so much deeper into that. And so just searching around, I was looking for peds mentors, and I found you. I found, that system.
Did you have to go to Facebook to find me probably back then? I don't know if I was killing it on the gram yet, buddy. I don't know.
That was so long ago.
You might have had to venture into your place you don't love.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Just kidding, but / maybe. Yeah.
I don't know, but it was honestly just the way you talked about everything. It was just so different. It was so relatable. It was awesome. It was. I just remember hearing the breakdown of the nervous system and talking about kids, and I just kept saying yes.
Did you feel like there was depth to our understanding of the nervous system and clinical application?
It was the only place that I found depth.
Which is crazy because where we were at that time did not even come close to the depth that is here now with PX, which is fine. Which
is why I keep coming back.
And it's the natural evolution and adaptation. We should all do that. When you have an obsession and a mission that God has called you to, you better be better at it tomorrow than today,
Absolutely.
Right? And add more depth to it. Okay, so let's stay in the nervous system. So why and chiropractic simultaneously, which is what we were talking about ahead of this. That's what we feel like so thankful to God that he's brought us down this path where we really are nervous system focused chiropractors, and we can put the two together. Like we see the nervous system, we see chiropractic. We see chiropractic, we see the nervous system. They're not separate. We don't see the spine, we don't see everything else. And so you, big picture, not even necessarily just to network, but just within the gamut of techniques, why do you think it's so hard for chiropractors to be able to stay anchored into the nervous system, which is kind of like the same question as asking, why are they so susceptible to adding anything and everything else to their practice when you hold the freaking power of tapping into the nervous system like we do? If you were to root cause that and think of a few things, why do you think it's so easy for chiropractors to lose sight of the nervous system?
Honestly, I think it's too complex for some. I think it takes so much time, so much training and details to go into the nervous system. I mean, I'm learning things now, continuously taking the same conferences with you that I didn't even pick up on 2 years ago.
Just this morning, we were literally doing this.
Exactly.
We're doing this podcast at our certification adjusting seminar at lunch, and this morning we just went deep, right?
Exactly, and we're constantly, the nervous system is constantly evolving. Our education behind it, so it's a very complex system. So it can get confusing. It can get very detailed. And it's more about, like you said, having the passion to really dive into the nervous system. You have to have that because it's a lifelong thing.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. That is such clarity there. And if you don't keep going forward with depth, your only other direction is sideways.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So it's just kind of, I honestly think, and I was sharing this with you ahead of time too, I feel like, and this is where it really breaks my heart, honestly. Because you can look at some of these things and you can be like, okay, am I emotionally wound up about that? Am I more disappointed? And I tend to be, maybe this is why God gave me 3 daughters. So I tend to go like, I don't necessarily, it takes a lot to anger me or perturb me in that way. But I will definitely look at a lot of stuff and go, okay, well, that emotionally hits me in a way that I feel, in a very healthy manner, responsibility to help, responsibility to step in and serve. Because I love chiropractic. I love chiropractors, and I feel like so many of them are just right now slinging shockwave and slinging stem cells and med spas, and they actually don't even want to be.
Right.
They really do love the nervous system. They really do love chiropractic, and they would love to go deeper into it. And so here's where I'm going with this. So do you find a direct correlation between the depth of your continued relentless study of chiropractic, nervous system clinical application, and the growth of your practice?
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, right?
100%.
From everything, from volume to outreach. So let's go there. So over these last couple of years, what's happened with your practice? What are some of the, you don't have to go statistical by any means, but like what sort of big growth things, what's happening with your practice right now that maybe wasn't 3 to 5 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, thankful to God for this, but we blew up. Just to say it in short,
Word got out.
Yeah, we blew up. But that goes back to, as deep as we've gone with my education and diving into the nervous system, that gives me, of course, more confidence to communicate with people, to have the ability to get out there on Instagram myself and talk about the nervous system the way that I do. And make people understand that there are deeper layers. So that alone, I think, is what really took things off. Of course, you want to hear that a doctor knows what they're doing before you take your children to that doctor. Right? And
your patients do know before they literally even DM or come in, because the depth of your content.
Oh, yeah. They're coming in ready.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So awesome. This is where there's a whole long list of things you can really help chiropractors with. But God makes us each, there's some just strong suits, right? There's just some skills and passions. And it's always been a passion, writing, that we were just talking about too. And now you've turned it into just this immense skill. So when you have the brand you've built, and it is, and guys, we're going to tag it in the show notes. You've got to follow Dr. Scherina on Instagram. And to write at that level, is it fair to say you have to understand it?
Absolutely.
At that level? Is it fair to say you need to be confident that you will deliver at that level
For sure.
as well? Okay.
100%.
So that we probably found 2 primary subluxations there, didn't we? That a chiropractor would need to A, understand it at that level, and then B, clinically be able to back up what they put out.
Right.
Okay. Awesome. So when you start putting content out that way, how does it change the patient relationship initially? We'll even go kind of chronologically. When they come in, what kind of questions are they asking you from a patient landscape? What kind of goals do they have? Obviously, kids are still struggling, symptoms are still there. They're probably not going to leave those off the plate, but are they talking nervous system back to you?
Number one thing they say is, my nervous system is erect, my children's nervous system. That's the one thing I hear. Goals wise, it's always nervous system. So they're understanding. Questions, I don't get any.
Yeah, totally.
It's mostly like, how do I sign up? When do I start? How do I? Yeah. So. Okay.
So how long have you been at that? Writing and putting content out about the nervous system?
Probably 3 years now.
Okay. What is your schedule? What's your, and again, we'll start with ideal, and then you're keeping up with the team and everything else. Like if you had and you're about to, again, your team is rocking and rolling and you're training and onboarding and getting them all dialed in, and they're incredible. And you had the time and the freedom. How many posts, how many things would you put out per week?
Okay. Right now, I'll give you my current schedule. Okay. I'm posting at least 3 times a week.
Okay, I love it.
Yeah. And I'm. It's not just a post. My posts are deep.
Depth.
They go into explanation, and they take hours to put together one post. Real same thing. Before, I probably say this is probably for the last 3 months. Before this, up until last December, I was posting every single day. Okay. And that was hard.
Yeah.
Very hard.
Yeah.
But
that's why you would text me at 10 o'clock.
I would. Yeah. I was 100%. I had the bandwidth to do it. And now I think I've just kind of trailed back a little bit with it, just because you can only put out so many juicy posts every day for so long, and then it's going to get repetitive. And I don't want it to get repetitive. I want it to still be new information.
And in the same breath, what you're probably saying there, my friend, and again, so we live the same, like, with the podcast, it's like, how many times can I talk about subluxation? Turns out quite a few.
Yeah, for sure. In different ways.
And then, in different ways, and that have different meaning to different people and different stages of life and different conditions and everything else. And it's actually, and I think that's a thing, I didn't even mean to have that be the thing I was going to say there, but that's what chiropractors don't realize, because it actually can come back to the beginning of our conversation. Because of the depth and intricacy of the nervous system, plenty of content. Plenty of content
for
within that sucker. I'm glad I'm not talking about the spine. I'd be like,
T1.
Go right to T1. And so, it's crooked. It needs to be forward. I don't know. Okay, so I'm sure they find depth there. So you have that ability, but also in the same breath, the exact practice you want. You know who you want to serve. So you're going to go real deep down that road, but you're also going to intentionally not go down other roads, right? And not serve people that, and again, other chiropractors in a wonderful way are called to take care of them. So when you look at this content play, and I love that, what I want to double tap on is how worth it is it to spend hours per post, because you're not only getting a quantity of new patients from that, but the quality metric is totally different, right? The relationship, like you said from the beginning. So I just want chiropractors not to miss that, because busy chiropractors are like, guess what? Scherina is very busy. You are plenty. We don't love the word busy. You're very productive. Okay, so it's worth it.
Yeah, hands down, it's worth it. The amount of hours, if you look back, and I kind of cringe at that.
Understood.
Like I sit there and just write, but it's hands down changed everything practice-wise, but also within me, within like who I am as a doctor and as a leader to my team, as a leader in the field. Like it's changed everything.
It's changed for a lot of chiropractors. A lot of chiropractors are literally the doc you were just talking about found you and then found us through you, right? Because he's like, I read that, I want to do that. Awesome. And I think too, well, you know this, there's so much more for you that I know God has coming down the future. So is this the right time to ask when I can sign up for your seminar? Yeah, you know it's coming, right? Now we'll put it out on the airways. We're good
Everyone's
to go.
waiting.
Everyone's like, oh my goodness, are we waiting, right? Like if anybody can get me to chill out and take it easy, you're my last chance, buddy. You're my last hope card here, as parents tell us all the time. And so, okay, so what else do you see could be done? I definitely know, and we started and literally now live on the podcast, let's get reconnected to it. We have got to be able to send your content out to the PX Docs platform. That is something I think, because you already have it. Yeah. And it's the same language, but done in only the way you can write, so we could reach more. What other ideas do you have with this content that's there? Any other plans for it, or just right now you're in the flow with it?
Right now I'm in the flow with it. It's definitely reached global levels, so we'll see where that goes.
So how do you handle that?
Yeah.
What'd you do? This is awesome.
How did I do that? I don't...
No, what did you do as a result of that? So your content blew up. How many followers on Instagram right now?
I think I'm pushing 400.
400? That's what I figured. Yeah. And the key with yours is that's totally different than most, is they're engaged. Yeah. Lots of engagement. You have a significant amount of engagement. We love social media, so we learn from you, we learn from people. And it's like the follower matters some, but the engagement matters most, right? And so you have that in a large degree. So that then probably forced you, back to our favorite word, right? We have this love relationship. I do. Christina and I do. And it's like, awesome. Okay, God, I hear you. I see you. Yeah. We'll do this next. So you created the directory.
Yes.
Yeah. So how long from idea to kind of like being able to put that out there? That was a beast of a project.
It was a beast of a project, and I'm glad I did it, because and I did that a year before things took off with my Instagram, and like I said, thankfully I did. Otherwise I would have been
you did that crazy. A year. Okay.
I did that a year in advance.
Right. Sure, yeah.
And like I said, thankfully I had a core, because once things took off, people were just shuffled to the directory. Awesome. So. And
you've been amazing. You've always had our directory, our PX Docs directory of nervous system focused family chiropractors there to come to. So honestly, that you're there's no way to say thank you enough to you. Like, because there's, you get into a big mission like this, and there's two ways to do it. The first one's not good. The first one is to feel like I got to get this all done myself, right? Yeah. Whether that's a brick and mortar clinic or a platform out in the world, that's only going to go so far. And so when you can have others who are like, I'm on mission with you and we can do it together and you're doing it on your own with your platform and your practice, the net aggregate of that is just like, if we were to sit down and pause for a second right now, it's immeasurable. I know you have Instagram can give you your stats and RS. You could go to your directory, stats and all that. We can't measure it. No. It's immeasurable.
No, yeah.
The amount of lives that your post and all these things that we're able to do have reached.
Yeah.
You don't even know about the ones that are getting literal life transformation chiropractic right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing about the nervous system. Like, we so badly want the word to get out there. We want it to be reached from every direction, and we've never figured out how.
Yeah. So, in a good way, this is good and bad, and I want to talk about both.
Okay.
In a good way, the nervous system is trending.
Yes.
Nervous system, everything. Conversation, regulation, dysregulation, cold plunge, sauna, meditate. Here we go. So it's trending. So we can look at it one way as nervous system focused chiropractors and be stoked because people are, if you're going to pick up conversation around, if awareness is going to pick up on the nervous system, we can strategically, which is where we should be anyways and where we are, we can enter that conversation, enter that space and dominate that space and bring people into our offices. But it also creates confusion.
Yeah.
Because when people talk about the nervous system and say, this is how you heal the nervous system, this is how you repair the nervous system, what is the level of or differentiation and contrast that the public doesn't yet know when they're getting all vibey about the nervous system, but we know from a chiropractic standpoint? You speak to this amazingly, so let it riff. What's different there?
So all that stuff, I mean, hands down, all that stuff soothes the nervous system. That's
Perfect.
it. Soothe. It's a soothing technique that you can use in the moment. I mean, how many times are we going to talk to people, families that do cold plunges every single day and they're still dysregulated? Their nervous system isn't being touched when you're doing a cold plunge. It's just not. Yeah. It's not rewiring the nervous system. It's not working through the past trauma or the patterns of tension and stress that have been there chronically. It's not touching that. Right. It's touching what's happening today in this moment.
Yeah, whether it's walking in nature, cold plunging, deep breathing. How many families have come in where their kiddo's full of anxiety and they went to someone and they were like, we're going to teach you these deep breathing techniques, and the kid gets angrier in the midst of trying to do this, right? Because where's their breath stuck? Physically.
Yeah.
I don't like to say it that way, but for the point of contrast, it is neurobiomechanically, stuck, the tension patterns. So why is touch? Why is accessing literally, what's the right word here? Physically or, getting into it? Why is that so important to actually get healing happening with the nervous system?
I don't know how else you would work with the nervous system. Like, I think about it day in and day out because, of course, I have a lot of followers, right? And the number one comment I get is, how can I learn what you're doing? How can I learn this technique? And I always say it's only...
they kind of want to learn it on their own effectively?
Yeah, like people think that it looks easy enough for them to learn. And I'm my 100%, you have to be a chiropractor. And a lot of people don't understand that. And it's hands down the depth of the nervous system. It's more than being in fight or flight. Yeah. I can tell you who's in fight or flight by looking at them. It's about how are you working with their nervous system? What does that mean? Like the areas that you're contacting, what are you touching? What are you doing? There's so much depth there. Yeah. There's so many layers that you absolutely have to be deeply educated into the nervous system.
What kind of nervous systems are we dealing with in practice right now today?
What kind of nervous system? High stress, high strong, like
disorganized, yes, exhausted,
all of it.
Yeah. So do you find that, and you've been this way, you found network as a student, you've been working on it, mastering it, been a nervous system focused chiropractor. Do you feel like you need to keep getting better? Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you love that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love that. Yeah. Like, I love being inspired by other doctors who are doing great things, and that's what a doctor is, right? We should want to learn that stuff.
It feels weird that I have to draw this into the conversation because I'm like, well, duh, you know? But I knew when we I can get that out of there. When we came up with the plan for the Family Practice Podcast, I have a lot of people I want to reach. So if you're listening out there and this is you, great identification point here. And also, you probably know other chiropractors who are right in the same space as you. And so send this to them because this message will land, and then help clean it up if anything I miss. So you have the favorite, bestest, easiest one is the student. right? Yeah. When we catch them early, it's like a baby. It's
Absolutely.
like, actually, let's go all the way through like preconception, fertility, right? You know,
right?
like that.
Yeah.
We're like, this
no
is
trauma here.
Yeah. So it would have to be a first quarter, first trimester student, maybe even before that, right? So to get them, but we'll start with the ideal. So students are in a much more fresh space, neurologically, we'll call it, to train with this and this kind of chiropractic and go down this road. And when you get them going down the right roads as a student, you're so much more confident that they'll always maintain this. They'll always maintain this hunger and this humility and this desire to get better that you and I have, right? Yeah. You want that to be integrated into their nervous system early on. Second group of chiropractors we want to reach with the Family Practice Podcast are those who are already doing it, but they know there's more. Yeah. You know, they're probably feeling burnt out, bored, spinning their wheels, you know, and maybe within that, when tough cases come in, they don't get results, right?
Missing pieces of the nervous system.
Yeah. They're trying to worry about, nutrition and primitive reflexes. They've gone sideways instead of deeper into chiropractic.
Right.
So maybe you are a awesome family wellness chiropractor, but in our world, that's different than a nervous system focused in-depth chiropractor, right? So if they're there, and then the third case, there's more, but the third kind of ideal person is like, I'm into spinal care, I'm into back pain, I'm into rehab-based practice, and I really, really want to go into the nervous system. And I just want everybody to hear, I'm kind of taking a moment here to say, no matter where you are, the path forward is the path forward, meaning study the nervous system more.
Yes.
Get it. It really starts there. And of course, that's like a homer answer for two nervous system loving nerds, but it starts with your understanding of the nervous system plain out. Function, depth. Like, we love God and we love the nervous system. And I don't know about you, I have a lot of questions for God of things with the nervous system that I haven't figured out, you know, and I don't plan on asking. I want to have a while before I have this conversation up there, you know, and so, but I'm going to be like, dude, the vagus nerve is weird. Why is it all wandery?
Why did you do that?
Yeah, you know, like, and so, okay, so you got to have the understanding of that. And when you take that first step to constantly study neurology and study chiropractic at its greatest, deepest, most advanced depths, there's actually awesomely no end to that. And then you never go sideways. Right. You never get bored. You never get burnout. Probably even more importantly, you never get too full of yourself. That's real important. You know, that you're like, I got it all figured out. No, you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't. Because you and I got a lot figured out. We take care of a lot of tough cases. And you're here with your team this week because more tough cases are coming.
Absolutely.
And you're leveling in. Okay, awesome. Let's just kind of round third base here for back part of the podcast. Let's talk a little business. All right. Let's just, we love that too. We have fallen in love with that like crazy. We are clinically obsessed results chiropractors who are then like, hey, how do I get more of this to the world? Get better at business, right? Get better at marketing and branding and team building. So what has been your journey over the last 3, 4, 5 years? And how have we helped, I guess I would say, for some extra take-home clarity in the leadership, practice building, business? Like, what do you feel like lessons that you've really learned? And then what are some of the strategies that you put in play to go across those gaps?
I think the biggest lesson I learned, or my biggest takeaway, was truly gaining the confidence to talk about the nervous system. I knew nervous system. I touched on nervous system before, like at the start of practice, but really as soon as I dove into what the nervous system was and then gaining the confidence to communicate that to everyone, that's what shifted.
So are you saying from a business standpoint in the early stages, did you feel like maybe doing that would have not been good for business? Like you had to kind of like open it up and let a few other people in or other things in?
Quite possibly. Maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I do wonder, actually, I've never thought of that until right then. Like, I wonder if people think, oh, it's, to make it in business, to see enough people and pay my bills from school, I've got to accept back pain.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll go screening, I'll do this just to pay the bills.
You can't be picky.
Yeah.
That's what they tell you.
Yeah.
That's what they tell you.
That is what they tell you, right? Okay. That's true. Okay. Yeah. All right. What else? What else in the business practice management? What is you, Dr. Scherina, what is your growth journey? Clinical, I get that. Nervous system, I get that. You wear other hats.
Yeah.
What are they?
Business.
And,
So business.
And what's the journey been? Where did you maybe struggle that now you really feel like you're at a much stronger suit and really working
on? Business-wise, my biggest struggle was probably time management.
Okay.
In the beginning of practice, I had a baby, like I said, navigating a tough marriage at the time, and putting it all together, like just trying to figure out practice in general. Team-wise, that was kind of at a standpoint. So again, it all trails back to my communication of how I was practicing my, just my presence. If you're not confident as a doctor, you're not going to be confident while you're practicing. So it was that whole thing. I mean, even I think I'm a great network doctor and I've done the work. But if you would have saw me in the beginning, I was doubting myself every single day.
Which is the most normal path. You're probably not too human if you didn't.
Right.
You know? What about your confidence as a leader and showing up as a leader? Has that been difficult? Has that been sequential? Has that been a journey for you?
It's definitely been a journey. Yeah. Calling myself a leader is still hard. It's still hard for me. But so many other people call me a leader in the field, which I guess maybe, I don't know.
Just with your team. Yeah. Just breaking down to brass tacks is the brick and mortar practice. Yeah. So you love your team.
Yes.
Like you are literally nobody's.
Yeah,
you are. And I love this. We talked about this a ton. I champion this big time. I know it's not in every business book, but we're not looking for an ordinary business. We're looking for an extraordinary practice, right? And so you have cookouts with your team. They come over, they're part of their family.
Yes.
Their family.
Yes.
Okay. So, and I think that's maybe why the question, it's a little bit different for you because you're like, well, that's just what I do. That's just accepted. But that can be difficult to have this team of people, associates and CAs that are responsible to, you're responsible to. Right. And that's actually how it is. Like people are like, oh, these people work. No. You work for them, right? If you really do it well and you fall in love with that relationship. So have there been some learning lessons and some growth curves along the way with team and leadership?
I feel like from the very beginning, that was always my mindset when it comes to team. I loved it. It's been more of a growth journey for me to have to step aside sometimes from our friendship and go into like boss leadership role, figuring out our subluxations that we had in practice. Yeah. But we figure it out together. So it's been a learning curve for me because I'm more of I'll handle it myself type of person instead of having the team. And now that's not a thing, that means I have a really good support system of a team. So,
and that starts with you. Yeah. You have to be willing to, step out of the way so that they can step up and step in. And I love that we hit this, because I know that's what's internally inside chiropractors who are looking at it. And again, we kind of shift gears, everybody. We went from our clinical nervous system to our business owner hat, which is what we're going to do with this podcast. We're going to hit both. That's what we do with PX. PX is a clinical training program, and then all of a sudden you get really, really great clinically, and your practice blows up, and you're like, I should figure this out too. Absolutely, right? Anybody got a business training? And we're like, we do here too. Come on around. Next module up, next seminar up. Yes. And I love that about PX. That is what God has called us to do, is hit both. The fear everybody has of getting that close to their team and making them family is exactly that. Okay, well now we're all homies. So when the tough conversations come and I say, you didn't finish that project, it needs to be done better. A lot of people think when you get really close to your team, you won't be able to have those tough conversations, but I actually think the opposite is true. You can actually have more effective, tough conversations when you've built that bond of trust and relationship. And you guys are all in it for the right reasons, which isn't you and it isn't them and it isn't somebody being right. It's that kid, that family, and more kids and more families' lives getting better. Yeah. And so when people put their business hat on in chiropractic, they take their chiropractic hat off, and they shouldn't. And I think we should just layer, cheesy analogy here, but you should just put that hat on top of the other one and have that foundation. And you do that. You guys, everybody on your team, from even your CAs who don't adjust, they know that the nervous system is the purpose of your practice.
Right. Yeah. I mean, hands down, when your team understands the nervous system, those difficult conversations lead back to the nervous system. So they start to understand, like, okay, it's not an attack. This shouldn't be a reaction coming from me. This is a conversation, It's a totally different, it's just like a relationship, right? Yeah. If you're both regulated, you're going to have a good conversation. Even if it's a difficult conversation, that means growth, right?
Oh gosh. Yeah. And you have a growth mindset, which is everything. Yeah. And then growth neurology to kick it in and make it happen. Okay. Awesome. So round and third base here. What is next besides the seminar that I'm coming to? So what is, and remember, we're talking to chiropractors with this podcast, like what is next for you? And if a chiropractor hears this and is like, dang it, I didn't know I could tap into the nervous system. I didn't know I could drop in and go to that depth. What's next for you? And then what would you leave is next for them?
Oh, what's next? I feel what's next for me, like we're touching such a global level. So it would probably be like travel experiences, intensives, stuff like that, if that's even a possibility.
For patients or for chiropractors?
For patients.
Cool. You're just going to say you are hooked on them.
For patients.
I love this. You are hooked on them.
Ready to serve.
Yeah, you're like, forget these turd chiropractors.
Yeah. Well, chiropractors come learn network, so you can help me out. Yes. I'll get to teaching soon, hopefully. Okay. But I'm still getting so many people like that they can't find nervous system chiropractors near them. They can't. We still are between both of our directories. It's still so rare.
Lots of gaps.
Yeah, there's still so many areas that aren't served. So that is
the purpose of this podcast.
Yeah.
Point blank.
Yeah.
Fill the gap.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because it's not about us. I don't like honestly. The practice, PX, everything is grooving. And like, there's moms, there's wrecked nervous systems and wrecked families in all those gaps on our map, and we got to go find them.
Yeah, for sure.
What is an immersion? I thought I was going to be done. I'm not done. Okay.
That's
all
okay.
Right. So, start with a story. What is one of your favorite stories from one of your immersion? So how many people can come? For how long? How often are they getting adjusted and entrainments and getting that? And then what's one or two stories of a person just having their life transformed at one of these?
So my immersion experience is actually only a one-day retreat right now. It's a one-day retreat. You're getting 3 entrainments throughout the day. We're doing some breath work and stuff in between, but the main focus is those entrainments, and they are advanced. So people are on the table a lot longer.
Got it.
And that's because I'm going as deep as I possibly can with each entrainment.
Because you only have a day.
Because you only have a day. Our last 2, we had 60 people each. That was our capacity.
Okay. Does that mean 60 tables? Or no.
We had. So the last one I had 4 doctors. We each had 2 tables each. So the next one it's probably going to be 5 doctors. Yeah. So it's amazing. The transformations are incredible. We see people coming in, they get on the table, they're like weeping, crying because of course we're releasing those emotions right away. And then we get to a point where they have just these huge transformations on the table. They have these awakenings. And the awakenings like of themselves, like of their own behaviors. They start to recognize their own patterns and start pretty much like putting the puzzle together right in front of my face. It's crazy. It's wild.
Can't have clarity without neurology.
Yes, it's wild. So it's a one-day experience, and I make it a one-day experience because I know a lot of people can't do intensives, like their 2-week intensives, which are amazing too. Yeah. But those immersion experiences is what's being requested.
That's amazing. Have you had chiropractors come and get themselves a job? Yeah, good. Because we go through it. We're human.
And again, this goes back to like, I don't know who all of my followers are. If you're chiropractors, please reach out to me. But the last one we just had a couple months ago, in October 5th, a whole group of chiropractors traveled for it, and it was amazing. Yeah. It was incredible.
I did not know. It's good. I'm so glad I kind of asked the details on that because, I didn't know the details to the T. I knew you were doing them. But we, in our landscape of chiropractic influence and community, every now and again, a decent amount of now and agains, you run into a chiropractor who is so ready, like in their mentality and their heart, to build a massive nervous system focused family practice. But their health is in a bad place. Something happened to their nervous system, and they need to heal before they can step up and heal others. And it's awesome at PwC. We see a lot of chiropractors, kids, and a lot of chiropractors. Right? They will come in for intensives. A lot of local ones come in. I actually don't even know how to describe this. It is the biggest blessing ever. It's really something. And I don't have the words for it. Honestly, it's just like, you just look at that and you're like, wow, thank you, God, for that opportunity. And I don't take it lightly. And because we love chiropractic. We love patients, but if a patient is a chiropractor, you're like, a little extra love right there, So, all right. So I love this. So we're going to close. And I had no idea this is going to be our closing call to action. You've got us. Anything you need from us, Scherina is our top PX doctor from day one, right? Just straight up OG. And you're going nowhere. And I know that because you're just with us. You're going to take this work to the world with us. Absolutely. So anybody who needs to come and learn and do that, you reach out to us. We'll get you trained. We'll get you ready to go. But I want you to hear this too out there. If you love the nervous system, but you are probably hiding or shying away from going in depth to the nervous system with your patients and with your practice because right now yours is wrecked. I'll use my Tony language, and yours is just in a really bad place. get your butt to an immersion, get in there, get it better, reach out to us for that. Reach out to us for you, because reach out to Dr. Scherina for you, because you get better. Then that opens the bandwidth to so many other patients getting better. And I think a lot of chiropractors are held back because they're not very healthy.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. Like with those immersion experiences, you don't understand until you feel it. You don't really know what place you are until you feel it. Yeah.
I literally never talk about this, but people ask all the time, like, how do you get so much done? And I think my default answers, which are very accurate, by the way, they're real as rain, is like, number one, I know exactly what God called me to do. And if I ever get off track, Oliver. I can just look at them and be like, there it is, right? And kids and practice. Number two, I freaking love it. It's just absolutely a blast. But there's probably a chiro-y answer in there, a neuro-focused answer. I take really good care of my nervous system. The one thing I never sacrifice on is my nervous system-focused chiropractic.
It's a non-negotiable.
It is a non-negotiable.
It is, yeah.
I'll throw some potato chips down. Yeah, you know that.
I'll take care of my nervous system.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be like, all right, you know what? Let's a little deep dish a beer and skip that workout that day. I can, but no, I will never. When I say nobody messes with my nervous system, I mean I ain't ever letting my nervous system not be at optimal function.
Absolutely.
And that's going to sound like a Homer answer from me and you, but that's my cheat code.
Yeah,
that's my secret sauce.
And it's my first look at the first thing I see. Yeah.
Game on. Thank you for this. You are who you are. You're a world changer. I know the whole team. Every time we think about it, like the moments we do slow down and kind of because in a very healthy way, we're charging forward fast all the time, and we just look around and we're like, guys, we got Dr. Scherina. We have, you become so excited about the future because you have that much more confidence that on your team, to your left, to your right, and everywhere you go, it's just world class homies like you. So love you. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Dr. Tony here, and I wanted to say thank you for listening to the Family Practice Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe to the show so you don't miss a thing. Also, if you're looking for more content from us, you can absolutely subscribe to our newsletter, watch exclusive episodes on YouTube, and dive deep into the articles and blogs on our website. All of this is linked in today's show notes. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next episode.